Hey guys, Cholera SC here with Moletrap this time, and we're going to be dual casting the first game of Group B of the OSL Round of 8. This is going to be Fantasy versus Mind. They're going to be playing a best of 3 to lead this group. Now, I see in our predictions that I predict Fantasy is going to be leaving this group. Fantasy on the left here, young boxer. I think he's a very creative player, and it's his time to shine. Whereas Moletrap, you predicted that Mind's going to win. I think main reason Fantasy is going to win is because this map pool definitely favors the creative players. The first map will be on Plasma, and I think he's going to adapt a little bit better, but I'm sure you have good reasons why you think Mind will win this best of 3.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. I hadn't completely thought about that, to be honest, about how the maps do favor more creative players. So that might go in Fantasy's favor a little bit. But the reason I kind of went with Mind is that who again is known for being just a solid player. And by the way, Fantasy is going to be up here in the top left in yellow, and that means Mind is going to be in the bottom left-hand corner in blue. It's funny, I almost stopped myself from saying what colors they were and where they were, because I think you mentioned in another cast, I just got done actually doing a live cast at the World Cyber Games US Nationals, and when we were doing the live cast on stage, the players could hear us talking, and so we weren't allowed to say anything that would reveal something to the other player. So I got into that habit of not revealing anything, but obviously they're not listening to us right now. Anyway, the point is that I think Fantasy, he's really good player. He's up and coming, and I really kind of like his style. I think he's going places and he's going to go far, but he's not quite there yet. He's still not quite at the same echelon. I think Mind can bring a lot to TVT. I think he can be a little bit creative when he needs to be, especially when he knows the map is creative and he's not just depending on, it's not like just a cheese or something like that. So I'm just regarding Mind as a generally better player who's been doing pretty decently this season. That's kind of where I went with my pick.
Yeah, Mind, don't forget, did cheese Midas though in that game they played in their group. I believe Mind did the crazy 2-racks rush or against Midas, and it was a pretty fast game there. In any case, though, here we're seeing a scout coming down for Fantasy. He's going to scout Mind's base, and he's going to be able to stay in there for quite a long time and get a good look at Mind's tech. I really hope that next time they do... Oh, is that... No, I thought for a second that was a gas steal there. No, it's not a gas steal, but I really do hope that the next time they have WCG in the USA, they order some of those soundproof booths from Korea, so you guys can actually, do a real live cast and instead of being constrained so much. Anyway, it seems interesting. Mind looks like he's set up his gas already, whereas Fantasy has not set up his gas. The last time we saw his base, that's kind of different from what we would expect, but we'll have to see how that progresses. I'm sure he might have just been a little bit slower than... No, actually, it looks like he's actually going for a fast expand here. This could have been a 14 command center, I think, so we're going to see how this affects, or I think it was actually a command center after barracks. I'm not sure exactly what it is building in his the bottom part of his base, but certainly a fast expand here from Fantasy. And it's going to get scouted right away. So how do you think Mind's going to change his build if he does decide to do so?
Wow, this is really interesting. It's going to be up to Mind. He can either go two directions with this. Basically, he can be ballsy and he can switch his build and go for a fast tech and go for a quick attack. Try and take advantage of this. Or oftentimes players they won't have the balls for it, and they'll basically figure that they they can't. They can't pull it off. They didn't pull it. They didn't go for a rush beforehand, so they can't quite make it to the other person's base fast enough to pull off a timing push, and so then they'll expand right away as well and try and just catch up economically, even though they know that they're behind a little bit, and try and put pressure on. But it looks like Mind, in fact, has gone for a factory. He's floating his barracks here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a second factory going down. Actually, I believe Mind is probably going to go for exactly that kind of thing. He's going to go for a timing push, and Mind is really known for his timing pushes. Well, not as much as for GG, I guess, but Mind, I mean, that's basically how he won his MSL that he did, was doing some very great timing pushes. And there's the second factory in the machine shop going down, so we're probably going to see some siege tanks going down. He's going to try and bust through those eggs pretty quick and, catch Fantasy without many forces.
And actually a starport also going down there, Moletrap. I think this actually could be setting up for a vulture drop. Do you think that's actually the correct prediction to make here? I'm going to guess it's going to be he's going to get the mines and try to put some vultures inside of Fantasy's base.
Yeah, he wouldn't have gone for the starport for drops. I mean, not for drops, for rates, if he'd gotten that second factory. So I think you're right about drops. I'm not sure what he's going to be dropping there. He's only got the one machine shop, so I think that's a good. I think that's a good guess of what's going on here.
I think
And
it's
an
going to be
armory
tough too.
from
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say an armory and academy going down. So Fantasy does not know what's going on. He thinks that by being
Right.
scouted, he knows that mine's going to go for a tech build, and so he saw that factory. He's thinking rates, and I think mine's going to catch him really off guard here by going for ground tech instead of air tech.
And on this map, it seems deceptively good to go for a fast expand, but time and again we've seen Protosses lose after going 14 Nexus against a Terran player, and then 2 factory builds have defeated them consistently, and we'll see here whether it's going to defeat Fantasy here, a fast tech build against his 14 command center, and I think I'm right here. We are going to be seeing that Vulture speed and most likely Vulture mines here. I think we're going to probably see a 4 Vulture drop coming out pretty soon for Mind, and it's going to really be tough here with the narrow ramp there. One large unit at a time can get through, and I believe the scout is still alive inside of Mind's base. Only now, inside of Fantasy's base. Only now is it destroyed. And you're right, Fantasy is definitely anticipating 2-port rates, basically 2-port rates by the build he's doing. He's not going to be prepared at all for these mined up vultures, especially because his factories are on low ground. It's going to be so hard for his tanks to get up that ramp.
Really, yeah, there's the vultures there. I really wonder if this is going to work for him. He's going to have to really do some damage with these mines. Otherwise, I think at this point, yeah, these Goliaths are coming out. They're going to be able to deal with vultures pretty easily if he gets a couple more Goliaths out. It's just going to be up to whether or not he can accomplish enough with the mines that are in those vultures. But I mean, mines don't set off on SCVs, so it's going to be tricky for him to do any major economic damage. I think Fantasy might be able to actually take a victory as far as the forces go, and that spotting that, he's able to run over there with his Goliaths and protect that expansion, trying to protect his main as well. Let's see if they're planting down mines right outside the factory. Nice work, but he's going to protect his ramp with some SCVs, so they're not going to be able to get in there. He has comsat anyway because he was thinking raids, so he's going to be able to deal with those mines. I'm not sure if this is going to do enough damage to be worth it.
Yeah. Actually, looks like 2 vultures still survived to get up the ramp, and I wish that Mind actually dropped inside of the main base to start with. I guess he was a little afraid of getting intercepted by the Goliaths, but I think that would have been much more successful. But overall, this attack hasn't really succeeded. We are seeing a dropship coming back towards Fantasy's base, though, so maybe Mind's thinking about part 2 of that drop. He is going to go for a second drop here, and he's going to really need to do some damage, or else he's going to be far behind. I think he's just setting up his natural expansion right now. He's trying to set up mines next to those Goliaths, and looks like he's going to be able to take out one Goliath. The second Goliath will now go down, I believe. But I think if actually Fantasy had gone for tanks, this Vulture drop would have been more successful. But Goliaths are so maneuverable that they can pretty much out micro Vultures very easily, especially with those scanners around.
Yeah, and they
what
have
are we seeing here?
Whoa, is that two starports in the corner from Fantasy? So Fantasy, he's held this off pretty well. Not much damage going on at all at this point, and now he's going to try and come back with some surprise raids to try and catch Mind off guard. Oh, it looked like for a second he was going to send his dropship over there and see those starports, but he may yet. No, he's probably not going to see it at all. So yeah, the Goliath's also having a faster rate of fire, just able to pick off those mines very easily. And really, I think Mind is way behind at this point because this whole time he's been wasting vultures. Everything's been going into wasting these vultures, and the entire time Fantasy has been building up Goliath. So he's got a decent army now.
Yeah, I think maybe Mind's trying to set up a little bit of a mind trap here, but I think he just barely missed seeing those 2 starports over there. I don't think he even has scanners right now, so Mind is very behind, and I just don't know how he's going to possibly come back. He's just gotten his expansion up. Second gas is still not up. He's getting his armory right now. Yeah, like I said, no scanners. No idea what Fantasy is going to be doing. Fantasy looks like he's actually going to break through there, and we could be seeing some 2-port raids. We also could be seeing some dropships of his own. That's also a possibility, given the number of ground troops he has, but we'll have to see.
Oh, that's true. That's true. He could be some, and there's some. You're right. We could be seeing some dropships in that sense. It looks like Mind does see that these forces are on the way to his main base. It's interesting. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like Fantasy's actually busted into the middle of the map. He's actually going to have to bust through another set of eggs in order to get into Mind space. Is that correct? And there's some raids coming out, close
So it
being
is right.
upgraded right now.
Right.
If Mind doesn't have comms at, he's going to get totally caught off guard here by this.
I think it's an absolutely great idea for Fantasy to make Mind think he's going to be going for a ground push and also having those air forces. He can afford this because he has that huge economic advantage, and we're seeing that. I don't even think Siege Mode's done yet. No, Siege Mode is not done. We see the machine shop spinning. That's got to be for Siege Mode, and these eggs are now going to go down. This is leading towards Mind space, and look at this. 3 raids coming down here. I don't know what Mind can do. Those raids are going to be picking away at those tanks, and there's no anti-air at all for Mind. I don't know what he can do.
That was amazing. That was beautiful. 1 Goliath out now for Mind, but 3 cloaked raids in the air, and no comsat for Mind. Absolutely devastating. This is GG. I'm going to call it right now. This is GG against Mind. That was beautifully done, like you said, by Fantasy, thinking he was going for a ground push, and you can see how many tanks Mind put out. He knew he needed to prepare for a big ground push, and he got Siege Mode barely in time. Barely in time. He must have been thinking, yes, I'm getting Siege Mode just before Fantasy breaks through those eggs, and I'm going to deal to defend. And that's exactly when the raids flew in, too. So, wow. He does at least have Goliaths coming out, but I think these raids are going to be able to do too much damage before they run out of cloak energy.
Yeah, there's really not much Mind's trying to do. He's trying to put up that engineering bay. SCB building it gets destroyed. What he needs is an academy and some scanners, but really at this point he's going to lose so much of his economy. And also, Fantasy can also choose to pick off some of the tanks. I'm a little surprised he didn't, but either way, I think he's going to win this game. Production advantage, he has a tech advantage. Really, he has a lot of options here, and Mind is definitely on the defensive. Looks like he's actually going to be trying to siege his way through this choke here. I don't know how successful it is. It looks like he manages to kill a couple of Goliaths and tanks, so he might be able to prevent this contain from being set up, but still, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to reach Fantasy's base, and Fantasy, meanwhile, has a fairly large economic advantage. Yes, he is expanding for a second time now. Actually, no, for a third time. He's already picked up his mineral only, too. So 4 bases to 2 here. Not good.
Yeah, that's not good at all. At least Mind did break out of that contain, so he might be able to secure a 3rd base or something like that. But it's just, I mean, he's gonna have to pull off a miracle here if he has any chance here. He's barely getting enough tanks out to try and defend. He's barely, and look at that. He's already out. He just broke out and killed some of Fantasy's tanks. And now he's already outnumbered by 3 to 1 in tanks again, and it's just it's just a matter of time. Here we go, Fantasy creeping in, sieging, unsieging, picking off 1 tank at a time, and it doesn't matter if he loses the same amount as Mind at this point. He just another command center going up for Fantasy. He's going to be taking yet another base.
Fantasy expanding like a Zerg here. He's already picked up yet another base here at the 9 o'clock position. He's not kidding around when it comes to macro. I just saw that. Wow, that Ragnasaur is on Mind's side at least. That's one thing he's got for him. That Ragnasaur blocking the SCB transfer there for a second. Wow. Yeah, the Koreans are seemingly fascinated by the Ragnasaur also. But yeah, it's pretty much a done deal here. Mind has 2 bases, still not even thinking about picking his mineral only because he just simply needs to use every resource he has to defend. And look at the food counts, 120 to 63. Ouch.
Oh my god. Double the food count. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is pretty much insurmountable. I mean, unless Fantasy makes just some sort of random grave error, yeah, this is pretty much in the bag here. So I got to hand it to Fantasy. Like, I thought that he wasn't quite as good of a player as Mind, and here he is sieging up inside Mind's base just to take out yet more SCVs, yet more of Mind's forces here. But he played this rather well, and I thought for a minute there that Mind was going to have it because he was expecting raids that weren't even going to come and setting up for that. But unfortunately, Mind just accomplished absolutely nothing with his vulture drop. Do you think he should have gone with a tank drop instead or something of that sort? How could he have done that drop differently, do you think?
I really don't know because a tank drop would have been a little bit slower. And actually, the Goliaths plus the comm set is not a bad counter now that I think about it for a vulture drop. It's something you usually
I guess
don't
that's
expect.
true, isn't it?
Yeah, it really isn't that bad. Looks like Mind actually breaking out a little bit with the well, no, actually that was Fantasy crushing Mind's attempt to break out. But yeah, I think maybe a two-factory push straight with Tanks and Vultures may have had some more chance of success if he just gone through the left side at the 9 o'clock position and just busted through those eggs. I think he might have been able to pull off a timing attack that way. I'm not sure though. I really don't know exactly what you can do, and that really is it's different from Protoss and Protoss versus Terran than Terran versus Terran, I suppose. I guess Terran versus Terran you can get away a little bit more with going for the 14 command center.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that. You're right. The Goliaths and Comsat actually did work well against both. Maybe Fantasy even knew that and thought, okay, well, whatever kind of rush he's doing against this, I'm going to be prepared for it either way with this build. So, depending on if he got lucky or if he was just genius, that's pretty cool of him. But I mind taking a momentary attack against Fantasy there, hitting some base and Fantasy countering by hitting Mind's base. There's GG coming from Mind. So nicely done by Fantasy, I have to admit. I agree with you that I think probably would have been better. That's kind of what I thought he was doing at first, would be to just go for some tanks, siege up, and break the eggs and just go straight through on the ground. Wasted a lot of money on a lot of Vulture upgrades and starport and dropships that he could have used elsewhere.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
That's silly.
what is that? Yeah, mini ceremony there from the SKT player, and that is Fantasy, of course. Yeah, not much to say about that. More to say about this game. I think it was part of was just not a very good tech choice by Mind, and then afterwards there was just no way for him to recover. I think. Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be very hard for Mind to come back against a creative player like Fantasy. We'll have to see though. Mind is a very tenacious player. You can never count Mind out because he keeps reappearing in Star Leagues late in tournaments everywhere, and he is a very solid player, like you said. Certainly much more experienced in Fantasy, who's only played about 20 games so far in his pro career. So Fantasy I think is a royal roader, right? If he manages to win this, it will be the first time he's been in the OSL.
I believe that's correct. Yeah. I think he's the only one this season. Actually, it's his first time. But I'm not certain of that. But yeah. By the way, this is I don't remember if we mentioned it. This is a best of 3. So next week, actually, only in a few days from this recording, they're going to come back, and if Fantasy wins Game 2, he will advance. If Mind wins Game 2, then they're going to go to a third game as a tiebreaker.
All right. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll be bringing you the first game of Group C coming up next.